Today's landscape is filled with mental health awareness, but most of this awareness amounts to sharing of ultimately shallow quotes or supposed quick fixes to what is a deep problem faced by many. Mental health is a long and complex journey, something that Michelle Franklin understands. In this episode, we talk deeply about her mental health, the events in her life that contributed to the darkness, and the journey out of it. But in any good story about a hero, she did not return from that journey in a selfish way, but instead she has used her knowledge gained on this path to help others. I truly enjoyed meeting Michelle, and I hope you will too, as we go and meet Michelle Franklin. So today I'm recording with Michelle Franklin. We met at Antoine's EmpowerNet.
Yes.
She had one of her entrepreneurial meetings. And met her. She told me a little bit about what she does and stuff.
Yes.
And I thought she'd be good to have on. So if you want to introduce yourself and what you do.
Well, thank you. I am Michelle Franklin. I call myself Michelle D.I. for divine intervention because I don't believe in coincidences. Only God's divine intervention in our lives. And Mrs. Community Builder because I naturally give people good information. I give people what they need for their mind, their body, their spirit, and their emotions as it relates to depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and PTSD. Mm-hmm. And so being it is Mental Health Awareness Month, I do the 365. But because it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm happy to be on and to talk about, mental wellness, and the importance to educate.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess, what do you do in particular? What sets you apart from most stuff in the area?
That's a great question. I feel like the one thing, the biggest thing that sets me apart is that I go down in the pit of the belly. I call it down in the pit of the belly. It's the uncomfortable but necessary conversations that you need to have with yourself. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times we go through life and we point fingers. And when I started my very intentional healing journey, one of my mentors, he said, we always have people, we point our fingers for things that happen in our childhood, for things that happen to us in our, adult life or whatever it is. But you have 3 fingers pointed back at you. And that's the most important thing. And that stuck with me. Mm-hmm. And so I had, I started talking about mental health because I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 23 years. But in 2015, my big mama and my stepfather passed away very unexpectedly, both deaths. And I spiraled into depression and anxiety, and I didn't even know what was going on because I feel like after somebody passes, we leave the funeral and then we go back to work. And we go back to our daily thing and we try to move on. But a piece of us is gone and we don't acknowledge that piece. But that emotion is there and it's kind of stuck in us somewhere. And then we're affected. And so we suffer in silence because we're not talking about it. We're pretending like we're okay when we're not. And so I think that is a big thing. Part of what I do is that I help you to recognize, to go back and look at what are the things that actually is going on. God has given me a gift. When somebody says something to me, I hear it a little bit differently than you might be saying something and I hear something that happened, years ago. It comes to me like this. And so I think it's a God-given gift. And, I know it's a God-given gift because I know everybody can't do it. But, and I'm not like some super genie or anything like that. I just feel like I pray and ask God to decrease me and increase him whenever I'm talking to people about their mental health and trying to help them. So yeah, I just feel like that really is what sets me apart, is that I help you get to the uncomfortable place. People they'll talk about it or they may say something, but they don't go deep enough. It's real cute and surface. Mm-hmm. How you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Yeah. I'm good. Smiling. Your heart is broken, right? You feeling some kind of way about something, but I feel like that's what we do. I call it going and being and doing. We're going to work. We're taking care of the kids. Doing all these things. We being great for somebody, being great for everybody else. doing everything, but taking care of ourselves. And I feel like that's what gets you into trouble, because it's almost like that hamster on the wheel that's running. Like it's going to break, after a while, after you continue to do it for so long. So.
Yeah. So you mentioned there's two things I want to go back on. So the first one is, you mentioned your kind of God-given gift.
Yes.
You feel like you can hear somebody say something and you can relate that to, this thing probably happened in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that you had that gift before you yourself went through depression, anxiety?
You know what? I've always been that child and that young lady and that woman that I will meet someone and they'll tell me their whole life story, or they'll be pouring their heart out to me, right?
Yeah.
And they're always like, I don't know why I'm telling you all of this. I just feel so comfortable with you. And I was always a comforter and always, that role. Mm-hmm. And so I do feel like I've always had it to a certain degree, but I don't know that I always tapped into it. Until I feel like I got very intentional about it. And I said, Lord, how do you want to use me?
Yeah.
And I think when I started asking him, it just got clearer and clearer that really I've already been doing this. I already hear things a little bit differently, but I hadn't used it intentionally. And so I'm very much intentional at this time, in helping people and just trying to give people a better space. It's a lot of people suffering. The statistics say 1 out of 4 people in their lifetime adults are going to suffer with a mental illness. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people.
So I guess another thing I'm curious about is I kind of want to go back. You talked about your mom and stepfather passing away unexpectedly, and then that sort of triggered anxiety and depression with you. Was that something you had dealt with before, and how did the healing process sort of look for you?
Sure. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. My mom is there, and my dad has always been here. And so between the two, I would come here for the summer to Texas in the summer. And I didn't like, the choosing back and forth. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I never liked the, going back and forth. So I feel like that did affect me. But again, I was one of those kids. I was an honor roll student and just, this kind of going. Around the 8th grade, I had a crush on a really cute boy. He was real cute. And I got pregnant. I decided that he was a little bit older than me. And I decided that I had to do what the big kids do to try to keep this attention. Because one day I had a crush on him for years, like a little crush on him for years. Every time I saw him, And then I got 14, you get a little mature.
Yeah.
And he was 16. And so he came down to the porch and he was talking to me that day. And I was like, I like that attention that he gave me that day. And I was like, I got to do what the big kids do. So I called him that same night. I invited him down and I had sex with him that night. I got pregnant the first time that I had sex. And so I had an abortion. And when I went to get the abortion, the doctor, he made me feel like I had slept with everybody on the block. Mm. And it was very painful. And so he said, you had sex, didn't you? What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Because I was trying to close my legs and keep your legs open and all of the type stuff. And it was a very traumatic thing for me. And so I couldn't get it done. I had to be put to sleep. And I remember my mom coming initially when I couldn't get it done. And she said, I guess I'm just going to be a grandmother. And I was so full of shame because I knew better, right? And I was so full of shame and guilt. And I said, if I have to keep this baby, I'm going to kill myself. I'm not keeping this baby. I'm not going to be the girl walking around with the belly. Like, that's not me. I'm an honor roll student. Like, I needed to go back to getting my A's and B's. Like I was just like, I made a mistake. You know, I'm not ready for that. Right. And I remember that was the first, little bout with depression, is that I was so ashamed of what I had done and the decision. And looking back on it, who doesn't have a crush on somebody, who doesn't make those mistakes? But I think it was more so, just the weight of it all. I was going into the 8th grade. Yeah. I was a baby, and so I was just really embarrassed and ashamed. So that was my first time I saw my mom was friends with, a psychiatrist at that time. And so I saw her for a little while, but I don't remember the sessions. Like I feel like I kind of blocked that part out, but I know that was kind of my first little bout with depression.
So you mentioned this happened when you were 14. So did this kind of carry on with you at any time in between, or what was it sort of that event? Probably had to struggle with it a lot anyway.
Yeah.
But
I had nightmares. I had nightmares about it all the way up. I still ended up being a teenage mom. I was pregnant by my senior year in high school. I moved down here to Texas, and at that point met my ex-husband. Felt like I was in love, and ended up getting pregnant my senior year in high school. And after we tried, we got married and we tried. We were just young. I was 18. He was 19. Yeah. That young love is so good, so good. It's so good until it's not, right? And so after the divorce is the next time that I really remember battling with depression. But at that point, I think because my dad had called me on my wedding day and he said, "Is there anything that I can say to make you change your mind?" And I was like, "No, Dad, I love him. I'm gonna marry him, Mm-hmm. And my dad was like, "Okay, fine," and hung up the phone, And I feel like that kind of, stuck with me. But I was, just on that young love and all of that, and trying to feel like I was doing what was right for me and my family, at that period of time. And so 2 years later, my husband comes home and says he doesn't want to be married anymore. And for me, I was like, if you don't want to be with me, then I don't want to be with you. So I had told him, if you ever change your mind, let me know and I'll leave. 2 years later, I wasn't expecting it, right? Yeah. But I did what I said I was going to do, and I left. But I had to keep up this facade. I was so embarrassed again, right? Mm-hmm. So ashamed again. I started drinking. I'm not a drinker, right? I'll drink socially, maybe a margarita or whatever. At that point, I remember I would sip a wine cooler, but I never drunk a whole wine cooler at that point in my life, right?
Yeah.
I was drinking. Like Beyonce, I was drinking. Yes, I was drinking. I always say I'll never forget somebody asked me, "What you want?" I said, "What you got?" I didn't care, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's been points and periods of time where I've had these waves, where something would happen, just traumatic things would happen and down the slope again. But I feel like that's life. Like, I don't think that's outside of anyone. You know what I mean? Things will happen and but I feel like mine was always attached to some embarrassment or shame and guilt, in the decision I made. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about, you said with your mother and stepfather passing away, that sort of started you into this journey. So how did you start to find healing, or where are you at with that yourself?
That's a great question. So it's my big mama. It wasn't my mom. My mother is still alive. My big mama is, and I'm sorry, I'm from Baltimore, right? So sometimes I feel like the country comes out and sometimes the city come out. It's a little bit of both things. So I'm sorry. But my big mama is my father's mother.
Oh, okay.
And my stepfather's, who my mom remarried, in Baltimore, and most of my childhood raised us. So I was like,
gotcha. Look at me. I don't know the lingo. You know?
I know it's not you. It was me. It was me. I promise. It was me. It's okay. But so I'm gonna try not to go all the way around the mulberry bush, but I have to tell you, I moved back to Texas. I was in Baltimore. I moved back to Texas because my dad had 2 strokes. So I moved back in 2015. So I moved back in April 2015. My big mama passed away the day after Father's Day. And then my stepfather had been sick, but, nothing major. And he passed away on September the 14th. Again, both of them very unexpected, right? So that sent me into the spiral. When Thanksgiving came, I started having panic attacks. And so I knew, I went to the emergency room. Again, I'm a nurse, but I hadn't dealt with the mental health realm, And so I knew a little bit, but I didn't know much. So when the lady said I was having panic attacks, I was like, okay. And then she said to me, well, are you upset about anything? Are you worried about anything? And I said, yeah, the holidays were coming up. I said, I'm really worried about my brother. And she said, and I told her who had passed away and everything. And she said, oh, that's situational depression. She said, oh, it'll pass. And so I thought, oh, okay. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for it to pass. You know what I mean? Like
anytime now.
Okay. Well, at this point, it's November. So, all right, it should be about to go now. I didn't know what that meant, right?
Yeah.
I'm literally waiting for it to pass. So 2 years later, I'm spiraling. I can't get out of bed on time. I am hitting the snooze button. I'm not motivated to do anything. I had gained, I was 270 some pounds. It was just, it was a mess. Fast forward, 2018, I was having some girl things go on and I had to have a hysterectomy. And I got an infection and I had almost passed away from the infection. Like I thought I literally was going to pass away. Yeah. And so at that point, I had started talking about, just little conferences and little things kind of here and there. But God has showed me that I needed to use my voice and talk about depression. And because I felt like people look at me. Right? Oh, yeah, I look really cute on camera, right? I take good pictures. You know what I mean? All of the stuff. And so I know people feel like, oh, she's perfect and nothing is going on with her. And so God just gave me the courage to start talking about it. I said, people need to understand and know this is not a just because like thing, right? This is you got to take care of this. And so I started teaching, but I was half-assing. You know what I mean? You know how God gives you something.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. I was half-assing. I can't dress it up.
Yeah.
And so when I got sick and I thought I was gonna pass away, I remember going into the bathroom that Sunday and I said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I said, I promise I'm a Jew. Because I saw myself on stages and I had these visions and all of these things. And I'm like, so I know I can't. I know I'm not about to pass away like this. Like, I know this infection is not going to take me out, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, Lord, if you just get me out of this one. I sat in there and prayed and everything, and within 24 hours, I was being discharged. And so right after that, I said, Lord, wherever you lead me, I'll go. About 2 weeks later, I got a message from my cousin that it was a fasting group that was taking place at the beginning of the year. And I said, okay, Lord, that's my thing. All right, I'm going to fast. I hadn't fasted in a long time. Okay, I can fast. They're going to do a 3-day fast. I said, okay, great. It ended up being a 21-day fast. Like every day they would say it was going to be 3 days. Then they said it's going to be 7 days. Then they said it's going to be 10 days. And every day they say, you going to do it. And I was like, Lord, you funny. I said I was going to do whatever you said, but okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so they went all the way to 21 days. I said, okay, I'm going to do it.
So is this like no food whatsoever?
No food.
Just water?
Just water. right?
Yeah.
The first 3 days is nothing, no water or anything. They call it a dry fast. And then the rest of the days, the 18 days, is only water. I can't explain the amount of healing that I got out of that, the clarity that I started receiving. They call it your third eye opens up, where all of the vision comes. I was getting so many ideas. Before the depression and anxiety, I had so much brain fog. I couldn't even remember. Like, you would say something to me and I'd walk away and I'd be like, wait a minute, what did you say again? Tell me. You know what I mean? Everything was so clear. And so the fasting is what really shifted and changed my life. That was the beginning of the vision starting to happen.
Yeah. So I know this is a deeply spiritual question.
I'm all for it. I'm here for it.
So what do you think it is about the fast? Do you think it is mastering over, your own impulses and even bodily needs? Like, what is it? Because I've heard from many people who've done fasts, and I've done day fast or something like that. But especially people who do it for long term, describe this clarity.
Yes.
What is it about a fast that you think brings that?
I think it's a surrender, right? It is. God wants a yes from us. Yes to your will, Lord, I'll go. Lead me. It's the discipline. Right. It is. But I really feel like it's the surrender that happens, because when you get to a point where you think that you have to have something, or you really, really need it, and you realize that you don't, that's trust. That's a trust in God. That's a trust in yourself that, I didn't know existed inside of me. I had done fast before, because I was thinking every time they changed the day, I was like, okay, 3 days. I've done 3 days. Okay, that's no big deal problem. I've done 7 days. I've done 10. I had never done anything longer than that. And so to be just all in, Lord, wherever it is you take me, I'm going to go, and I'm going to trust that. It's something different happens. There's something shifts. It's very spiritually just enlightening. You know what I mean? It's hard to kind of put into words, but it is that beyond what you feel and hear in church. I've been in church all my life, right? It shifts from hearing the word to knowing and being the word. You know what I mean? It's a difference. It's just a difference. It's a shift that happens. It's amazing, actually. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, but it was trust, because I had lost trust in myself. At that point, relationships and, the divorce and things that didn't work out. But of course, I had been in other relationships after that. And so I'm picking the wrong men, and things are going wrong here. I moved here to help with my dad, and crazy family stuff was going on. Like, I was lost. I didn't have an understanding of what was going on. I feel like I had lost my purpose. And so the fasting brought about purpose. And again, that third eye opened. And so when I said, Lord, what do you want for me? What would you have me do? And to get the answers, right? To get the answers so very clearly, that's priceless. Just priceless.
Yeah. So you mentioned, this clarity and stuff. So after this, I think you said 21 days?
Yes.
So after this 21 days, what did you receive? What did you see as your way forward helping others?
So what happened after that is I kind of said, Lord, wherever you lead me, I will go. I didn't realize how much the subconscious trauma that I had suppressed, like all that I've described to you with the doctor that happened. I didn't remember that prior to fasting. I had blocked it out. And so our body, it protects us. Our mind protects us from things. But what I found was, as I took one step, I feel like God took two. And as I was ready to handle different things that had happened to me, I felt like he would bring me to something else. And so after fasting, it was a guy in the fasting group, and he talked about Louise Hay's mirror work. And so I said, okay, Lord, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do next. It was a group for mirror work. So I said, okay, mirror work was 28 days. I did the 28 days. The clarity, I got more clarity and healing from that, right?
So what is mirror work?
Mirror work is, it literally is looking inside and looking at yourself. Again, not pointing fingers, looking at your role, your life, things that have happened to you, and taking accountability for that, right? Okay. So I wasn't able to say before, I didn't remember before that I made the phone call to the young man. I didn't remember that. Until I did mirror work after the fast, and then I did mirror work.
So I guess what specifically is mirror work? Is that like a devotional? Or?
Oh, so it's Louise Hay is she's a writer. She's past tense, but it's a program. It's a 28-day program, and every day she gives you an exercise to do. And so it literally is going into the mirror and facing yourself. And she gives you different things to do every day. And it goes a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper every day. But she gives you different tools and different things to do every day. And it's just a healing modality. It's a self-mastery kind of healing modality that you can do on your own. It helps, I feel like, to do it in a group. Yeah. A group of people. This was probably 20, 25 people, because you're talking and everybody's having different experiences and people are healing from things. And this is what happened to me today. And this is what I realized today. One of the things, I'll give you this example. The very first day, he said, I want you guys to go today, look in the mirror and look yourself in the eyes. I want you to have a conversation with yourself. I was like, first off, that sounds crazy. But again, I have surrendered, so I'm here for it all. Okay, Lord, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Okay. So he said, go to the mirror. He said, I want you to look yourself in the eyes. And I want you to say, I'm learning to like you. I'm learning to love you again. Because somewhere in life, when you allow certain things to happen, it's like you don't love yourself. And you don't realize and process it like self-love. But if you've been in a relationship where you've allowed somebody to abuse you or to, and not even abuse you physically, but mentally, spiritually, all of that, and you, like I had been in a 4-year relationship where I just allowed all of this stuff to happen, there's a lack of self-love somewhere. I don't love myself enough, apparently, because I've stayed in this situation. When did that happen? When did that become okay? You know what I mean? And so it is looking at yourself. I'm learning to like you. He said, when you go to the mirror, he said, make sure that you look yourself in the eyes. And I thought that was so strange. I was like, wow, why would he say that? But when I went to the mirror that night, I realized I hadn't looked myself in the eyes, and I didn't even know how long it had been since I was able to do that. And since I've been doing healing groups, people don't look themselves in the eyes. We go to the mirror, we do this, we look at our hair, we brush our teeth, right? But you're not taking the time, because you will see your iris, you'll see, you know what I mean? Your people, like all of the things, right? We're not taking the time to do that. There's some shame there that you can't even look yourself in the face.
I wonder too, because like humans, like we can look at somebody across the room and know exactly where they're looking. Yes. I wonder if it's something with that, like we don't want the attention on ourselves. Yes. So we don't do that. That's another thing I've heard a lot from people who have gone through traumatic events, and they just don't look at themselves in the mirror. It's like shame and guilt. You'll think, and sometimes you'll hear things and you'll think like, that's an outrageous number, like 20 something years. Sure. But like it seems to be a very common thing.
It definitely is very common. Yeah. And I would have never known. Like if you would have, and that is my thing, and why I say the subconscious mind plays a role in that, because again, that's an underlining in the pit of the belly. Shame and guilt somewhere something happened where you can't even look yourself in the eyes. Yeah. Right? You can't face yourself. And so very subconscious how it shows up like that. And it's so interesting. So I started mirror work. I did different healing. I got very intentional. I did different healing programs. I ended up going to an abortion healing weekend. It was a weekend that dealt with women that had abortions. It was amazing. I got a lot of healing from that. I ended up starting programs of my own. I did Jenny Allen Stuck. It's a women's Bible study program. And so in the Stuck program, they ask you to name 3 things that you're stuck in. I wasn't going to the program because I felt like I was stuck in anything. I was going to the program because I was just going to support somebody else. You know, this young girl that I was very proud of, and she was over the program. And I'm like, I'm going to support this baby. This is going to be great. And I get there and they ask the 3 questions. So, of course, I'm participating. I said, well, you know, at that point, I was overweight. And so I set my weight, and they said, well, how long have you been dealing with that? I was like, well, how long have I been fat? A long time. I don't know. You know, think about it. You know what I mean? So they're trying to work you through it, right? Think about it. When did that start? How long have you always been? No, of course I haven't always been. So what's the problem? Don't worry about it. It's a Bible course type of thing. So they said, you know, pray about it. God will give it to you. It'll come. That night, I started seeing visions of me moving around, flailing, fighting. I was sexually assaulted in my 20s, in my early 20s. And again, I didn't deal with it, right? Like most things, these things that happen to us, things that have happened in your childhood, like we don't talk about it. We don't deal with it. We just continue. We go on. We're grieving. We don't deal with it, right? And so I saw myself and I saw the arms flailing and everything. And I realized, oh my goodness. I put the weight on because I remember trying to fight. I was 124 pounds, right? He tossed me around like I was trying to like stance, like have a stance. And it was just like, he would just pick me up and just, and like I was a toothpick because I was 124 pounds. But in my subconscious mind, it was, oh, nobody is going to ever be able to pick me up like that again. Yeah. And move me around that room like he did. And so very subconscious things that happen. And when I realized that, I started looking at it a little bit different. I said, oh, this is way deeper. You're not overweight. People are not overweight because you ate too many donuts or french fries and all of the things, right? It's something else going on. And so that's what my program addresses. I started speaking and teaching about it. And then I realized in 2021, I was supposed to do more. I was like on this Success Fest. I was invited to speak on this stage with a bunch of great people. And that guy really challenged us, Trevor Otts. He was like, what else are you supposed to be doing? What else is your purpose? Like, this is not just it. What else do you have? What else do you have to offer? And so I got to praying about it at that point. And I'm praying about it. And I'm like, okay, what else am I supposed to be doing? And I thought about all the things at that point that helped me get to where I was. The breath work, the fasting, Jenny Allen Stuck, the Louise Hay, the mirror work. So I developed a program that has all of the things in there. A little bit, some of the days that helped me the most. Developed a program that encompasses all of it. And I have a 12-week program, and I started running it as a pilot and, turning it into helping people. And it's really, really helping people. Everybody that has taken my program says, I've been in programs before, but I've never been in anything that goes like this. And so I'm very proud of that because I feel like people will feel like they have done something, but it's very surface because that's where it's comfortable. And the healing is going deep in the pit of your belly and getting that stuff out of there so that you can live. Yeah.
I just remembered something that you said way at the beginning, and it was, you said talking about having that conversation with yourself, the uncomfortable one.
Yes.
Your ability to bring that up.
Yes.
So, what would you say that conversation is for most people?
The conversation is for most people is something that has happened in their childhood. It's generally something that mama did, or it's generally something that daddy did. Or sometimes it's both.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it's a cousin. Sometimes it's an uncle, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I've had one of the guys that I work with, very trusted family member, female, touched on him as a child. So it's not just like a lot of people think of molestation and things like that as something that only happens to women, but it's happened to men.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys, this has been my experience now, a lot of the guys who have the tendency to, I gotta be a man, you know what I mean? All of this stuff like this, and running through a lot of women, having sex, very promiscuous. Most of them have been molested.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is the, I gotta prove that I'm a man. And so I like women because sometimes it might have been a man that tried to touch you, or you know what I mean? It's all of that stuff. And so that's one of the things that I've learned the most in teaching, because one things that happen, and I just want to say this, is very uncomfortable, but it is necessary. We weren't talking about these things. I'm a 77's baby. My birthday is Tuesday, May the 14th. And we weren't talking about these things. When things happen, we don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. And so then you just go on. But what it does is it makes you feel as if you're not important enough. You know what I mean? So it's left you feeling some kind of way.
Yeah.
Girls that seek attention. You know what I mean? Something happened to them and somebody didn't address it.
Yeah.
Things like that.
So I think a good place to go, and I don't think we're going to solve this issue today, but
sure.
Where do you think we should move as a society to counter this feeling of like we don't talk about this, the shame that comes along with it? Do you think there is a solution to that, or do you think that's just sort of something humanity's always dealt with?
Well, I know for sure it's something humanity has always dealt with, because it goes all the way back to Bible days where things have happened, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like the conversation starts with us breaking the stigma of it all. There's so much shame around, figuring out why somebody is depressed about something, what actually is going on with them, allowing them and giving people grace. But the biggest thing that I've learned with the depression and the anxiety is that, again, I didn't even know that I was, like I said, I'm waiting for it to pass. I'm waiting for it to go. I'm feeling like something is wrong with me. I'm feeling some kind of way about feeling this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I should be over this by now, right? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And to have the conversation and let somebody know, honey, grief doesn't have a timeline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're waiting for it to pass.
It's more like an expiration date. It kind of gets worse.
Like, it doesn't have a timeline, but, you have to address it. One, we're not talking about it. So that's why I do depression and anxiety screenings, to let people know, at least know where they are.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know. When they finally tested me 2 years later, while I'm waiting for it to pass and I'm sinking, I was in the 20s. Both of them were severely depressed and severe anxiety. Like, I'm functioning, going to work every day. So it's like functioning alcoholics. I'm like, it's got to be a word. Functioning depressants, like functioning. I don't even know what the word is, but I'm like, do you know what I mean? Because, again, people are suffering in silence. We're just going on and going and going.
Yeah.
But I think it starts with one, just acknowledging, you know what I mean? Taking the time to figure out, stop ignoring it. You know what I mean? Stop pretending, right? Stop pretending that you're okay when you're not. You scroll down my page. I took great pictures. I wish Facebook took my old page. I had really great pictures on that page. They were real cute when I was really going through. That was real cute pictures on that page. Just pretending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't even like when you're out, you're not happy, or you're not when you're doing things, but it is when you go home and it's quiet and it's in the dark, or on the weekends when you're thinking you're going to get so much done, and here's Monday again and nothing is done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When things last longer than they're supposed to, longer than 2 weeks, right? Restlessness. I would feel tired. Exhausted. I'm like, okay, when I get home today, I'm going to bed. Midnight, I'm up.
Yeah.
Miserable. Eyes are hurting. Why are you still up? You're exhausted, but I couldn't go to sleep, right?
Yeah.
So the restlessness, the sleeping too much or sleeping too little. Some people can't even go to sleep. Some people just stay asleep. Like, I can't get up. Right? Overeating. Undereating. Right? It's one end of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
It's one end of the spectrum. It's all of the things. And so it's little things that you don't even realize. You know, you might not want to have sex with your partner. Something wrong. Right?
Yeah.
What's going on with you? I know your partner want to know what's up. Right? Something's going on. But again, we're not talking about it. And so that's my thing, is to bring awareness to it. And then to get you the help that you need to understand that you're not alone in this thing. Because I think that's where the shame comes in, because you're so embarrassed. You think you're the only one going through this.
Yeah.
It's just, you're not the only one, I promise you. The statistics say 1 in 5 people are suffering with some mental disorder.
Yeah.
1 in 5. So think about when you go to work, right? The whole building. Think about the next time you go to Walmart. Just start counting and looking at people. See how many it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at the baseball field. Look at summer's coming. Look at the baseball field when you look at that stadium full of people. How many people in there suffering?
All of Section A.
Exactly. A, B, D, and C, E, F, G, all of it.
Also, it depends whose team's winning.
That part is very true.
So, I'd like to turn it over to you. Is there anything you'd like to bring up in this conversation? Because I don't want, my limited experience to limit what you have to say.
Well, again, one of the best thing that you can do, if anybody is suffering, I always say, if you are having and you start feeling different and it's lasting longer than 2 weeks, right? So again, we're talking your sleep pattern is off. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden you have a loss of interest of things. You don't want to go out anywhere. That was one of the things that happened with me. Like I didn't want to go anywhere. I'm a little social butterfly. I like to, what we doing? Where we going? Yeah. Yes, let's go. And all of a sudden you don't want to go. Something's wrong, right? These are little signs. If you worrying and just worrying about little things where you can't quite figure out why you're worrying, but everything just is taken to the 10th power instead of it just being able to let it go. Mm-hmm. Another thing is people will act like they're fine when they're not. And so I would really like for people to just start being honest. You don't have to be honest with me and tell anybody else your business, but at least be honest with yourself. 988 is the mental health awareness hotline. If you start having suicidal thoughts, at one point, I had a thought like, maybe I'd be better off with me not being here. Things get overwhelming. If you start having any thoughts like that, I call him the devil. He sits up on your shoulder, whispering all the negative self-talk. If you are so pessimistic and you're negative about everything, every response is something going on with you. We didn't come out like this, right? Mm-hmm. When did that start? Why are you doing that? How long has that been happening? This opening up the conversation, going to somebody that you trust. But 988 will give you, that's a national resource, national hotline. People used to call 911, and the police are not trained So I'm so grateful they started this about 2 years ago.
The last thing you want is, when you're suicidal, for guys to show up with guns drawn.
That part. Like, go ahead and take me. And yeah, the training it was terrible. But 988 or get that person. If somebody is suicidal in your home, you can get them to the emergency room. And they will go from there. They'll do a referral and get them to the right place depending on what's going on. But I just want people to know that you don't have to suffer.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's so many people suffering, and I want you to know that you are not alone.
Yeah.
So
if people want to reach out and to you or get help, where's a good place to send them? And I'll link everything down below.
Yes. So my email is Michelle, my name MichelleDi for Divine Intervention, online, MichelleDi online at Gmail. And so, or you can call me at 318-618-1016. And so I have appointments. I also do a podcast on YouTube. And I talk about a lot of the subconscious things. Again, very uncomfortable conversations, forgiveness of family members, things that I feel like will affect your mental health. That, again, we're not comfortable talking about. And so I talk about jealousy in your family, right? I talk about unworthiness. I didn't know that I had a problem with unworthiness. Like, if you would have just asked me, no. What?
Yeah.
But again, your actions, if your actions and your words are not lining up, that's your clue right there. Again, staying in relationships that you don't belong in. If you're drinking, if I'm overeating, that's a self-love. That's an unworthiness issue. You know what I mean? Underlining, but we don't look at it like that. But it is, right? And so on the podcast, I give you signs and symptoms, things to look for, how you would know. And then I also come back and give you, different things that you can do, whatever treatment you might be able to do for that, just ideas of things that you can do. A lot of mental health stuff reverts back to self-care. I call us like the helper bees of the world. What my experience has been in this since I've been doing this, it seems like the people that are in service to others are the people that are suffering the most, right? I don't care what it is, like nursing, firefighters, aides, paramedics. Like, it doesn't even have to be a medical thing. It could be, just as simple as people like this that are in service, right? Like any service, it doesn't matter. But somebody that is in service, that's giving to somebody else, that's pouring into somebody else, pastors, right, are suffering the most. And we're giving to everybody else and not giving to ourselves. And so that is one of the biggest things is self-care. That's one of the number one things that you can do is just start taking care of yourself. I didn't even have myself on the list. I would have myself on the list. And if you came and said, I need something from you, that's fine. I can take myself off the list. Come on, get on the list. I got space for you. Yeah, take my space. Right?
Yeah.
Easy. You know what I mean? In a heartbeat, without blinking an eye. And it's okay to be that way still, but you got to keep yourself on the list. Iyanla Vanzant is a speaker. She works with Oprah. And I was watching one of her messages one day, and she said, we are trying to pour from an empty cup. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but it is, what you're supposed to do is fill your cup, right, with the self-care, with good eating, with sleeping, with exercising, right? You fill your cup with your vacation, with your family time, fill your cup, and then you pour out. What the overflow is for everyone else, but your cup is supposed to stay full. My cup was dry. And I'm throwing dirt and dust at you, like still trying to give. I'm empty. And I'm still trying to give, right? And that's how most people are. And that's why you end up losing it. I feel like you feel like somebody was just chill, and then it's what happened.
Yeah.
You know, they were fine.
Yeah.
You lose it because you are empty and you're trying to pour and give. And so I say, fill your cup, honey. Fill your cup is the most important thing you can do, especially if you're in service. You can't help anyone else until you help yourself. That's been the most important lesson that I've learned in all of this. And so very intentionally, you know, fill my cup. Okay, even if you can't go get your nails done, you can't get a massage, you can't do things like that. You can do things around the house. You can exercise. You can put a YouTube video on and dance, right?
Yeah.
I go to the park and I ground. Grounding is putting your feet to the earth. Scientifically proven things. It's things like that I teach about, but scientifically proven. You put your feet to the earth and the ions from the earth go in, and it's almost like it resets you. Mm-hmm. The sun, the earth, all of those things. It's a beautiful thing, and you just feel better. It's amazing. Yeah. So
take that time for yourself.
It's important. And the other thing is that it's not optional. Mm-hmm. Right? We make it optional. It's not optional. Yeah. Men and women, it's not optional. And
I think a lot of people will look on that as sort of selfish, but it's also taking care of yourself so that you can help others.
Exactly.
It's not about it all being you.
Exactly.
You know, and I do think it's a common thing amongst people who go through trauma that I've seen is they don't feel worthy in themselves.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I've dealt with this too, you know, where I felt like, and you know, I still do from time to time. I feel like I gotta be accomplishing all this.
Yes.
So that I can gain acceptance.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, you're trying to prove yourself again. Proven.
And you know, it still feels good to help other people and
stuff.
But you know, if you're running on nothing, then you can't help.
No.
You know?
No. You're gonna pass out. You're gonna be in the hospital. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we need you, right?
Yeah.
We need you to be 100 so that you can walk in purpose. And that is the whole thing as well, is for me to help you to fill your cup so that you can fulfill your purpose, because we need you in purpose. You're in service. God has given you a gift. We need that gift, right? Mm-hmm. But not at your detriment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We need you healthy and whole and full. And it is, you know, when you fill your cup, you feel better doing the things for other people. You can do it with a whole heart. And imagine if you think that you've been okay running on E, imagine what you'll feel like when your tank is full. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if you've been just going and being and doing on E for so long, oh my goodness, how are you going to feel when you take a vacation and fill your cup? When you go to a concert, when you just take a minute out and do something that you enjoy, and then come back and do something, it's so much more fulfilling, right? And you can, and again, because I did what I had to do with the fasting and I took care of myself, then more ideas came and it opened up, because I was living this tunnel vision life where I thought, oh, I'm only supposed to do, right? God might have other gifts and things for you to do, but he can't even give them to you because he can't trust you with them. Yeah. You can only carry this much. He might have some other things for you to do, right? But you can't even receive that because you empty. You empty, baby.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, one more time, because I don't think you said it. What's the name of your podcast?
It's Reflections Choosing Me Guilt-Free. Thank you. It is Reflections Choosing Me Guilt-Free. And that's the reason, just like you said, because I felt guilty. Mm-hmm. Whenever I would do something for myself, I would feel guilty. And when I went back and thought about it, and that's why the goal is to be intentional about looking. Why are you doing these things? What are you doing actually? How long have you been doing that? Right? Yeah. And I realized I took everybody shopping. Right? My oldest daughter, my baby girl wasn't here yet, but my oldest daughter shopping, my boyfriend at the time shopping. I'm talking $300, $400, $500 on clothes. Go whatever you want, right? I got this nice big check. What did I get for me? I didn't even have me on the list. I went in the stores both times with no intention. And then when it came time to go somewhere, what did I have to wear? You know what I mean? Like, why did I do that? Like, it's great, right? To take care of other people. Yeah. It's great. But put yourself on the list. You know, put yourself on the list.
Yeah.
It's there is a Yana said it like this. There's a God in you. And if you think about it, you're neglecting the God in you. If you feel like you're feeling guilty, think about there's a God in you.
I mean, yeah.
Right?
I mean,
you're neglecting the God in you.
I'm not good with verses, but I know somewhere it says.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, we're the temple.
Yes.
You know? God is in us.
Yes, that's
Holy
right.
Spirit, you know.
Yes.
And, you know,
yes.
How are you going to treat that?
Exactly.
You know?
And that's exactly, it's a shift of mindset. How are you treating the God in you? Like, if you feel like you're not enough, everybody, look, I loves me some Jesus and I loves me some God, right? Loves me some Holy Spirit. I'm going to take care of them, right?
Yeah.
So if that's what you have to do in order to get there until you can get there on a regular basis, do that, right? But you have to shift your mind about it because, again, it's not optional.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to end it. Thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking. It's been great.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's always good to be seen. I know, you know, again, we go deep in the belly, so we talk about some uncomfortable things. But again, these are the necessary conversations that you need to have with yourself in order to heal, you know, what things have happened to you and that whole thing. And so if anybody needs to reach out, please reach out to me. If I can help you in any way, I definitely will.
And again, I'll link everything down in the description, the podcast and video.
Nice.
Oh, hi. You actually made it to the end. Not many people do that. I guess you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and like and subscribe. Share it with people if you want to. And just tune in next time because I'm always interviewing different people. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.